No problem. We've got a 9 o'clock item here, county regulations update of findings. And our county attorney's here because she kind of took the lead on looking into things, so I'll let Ellen speak.
Kind of give an update, yes. I've met with our planning director on 3 different occasions, talked about some of the concerns. We have our chairman of the commission and our human resources person. We've had a teleconference with the Mako attorney as well. And we are addressing this as a personnel issue. So it is being addressed. We have brought it up to the employee, but because of personnel issue concerns, it's probably going to go to an executive session.
Okay.
But we are addressing it.
Okay.
And Mr. Reed is very receptive to, like I said, he and I have met on 3 different occasions.
Okay.
Yeah, actually as recently as Wednesday.
All right.
Yeah, so, and then I appreciate Roman and Casey. I had wanted to contact Mako, our association's attorney, and they were able to get him on the phone and have a conference call with him just to make sure we're kind of, because we've got a tension of the public's right to know and an employee's right to privacy.
Sure. I understand.
Yeah, but it is being addressed, and
So
the commission is
some kind
going
of report in the end, maybe not directly about the personnel issue, but about kind of regulations and how you're going to address that as far as equality.
Well, I think we're going to have to. I mean, especially if it's determined that we're seeing people treated different ways, we're going to have to address that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll expect to hear that later on down the road somewhere.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and I know it's going to take time.
Sure.
But just to let you know that the commission has been very proactive about this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
How about the rural addressing?
Rural addressing, actually, I did get the opinion from Marcia Bars, and I actually called her last week, but she was just going into a trial. We ended up talking about one issue, but not about that. I do have some emails that were provided to me from Mr. Reed, and there's one from Larry Schrock from DNRC that has me just a little concerned, because he has, in this email response to Tim, he had put forth an opinion in which he didn't agree with the previous legal opinion from the former county attorney. So I'm looking at that.
Well,
I
still,
haven't talked to Mr. Schrock
if you
yet.
have a piece of property that exists, why can't you get a rural address for that property? What right does he have to refuse to give you a rural address on that property? I've requested since January for 2 properties to get a rural address, as well as the owners of those properties. We are in the 6th month of the year now. I've got 2 jobs that were $4,000 worth of work that I went out and finished the work. All I have to do is put a physical address on that document that I filled out and send it in, and I get paid. I'm not getting paid because he won't give me a physical address. Can the commissioners think of any reason why you shouldn't get a physical address on a piece of property that exists? If you got hurt on that property and had to call an ambulance, the ambulance, you can't even tell them where to come in. That's what physical addresses are for. Whether I'm doing a LOMA or a LOMAR, if my client is paying for it, they ought to be able to pay for it. Those 2 properties that were in question, we just went through pretty much a 100-year flood stage. They're both 6 feet out of water. This is getting ridiculous.
And I guess I understand that one of the parts is that this is an employee issue and that you're going to do that portion. But I don't see a reason that the commissioners can't give a directive. I mean, he's an employee of the county that outlines, like we talked about, there should be a goal, and it should be to assist people in the development of property or that. And I'm here to help you. You need to follow the rules, but I'm going to help lead you through it and not be an obstacle. And that's what it's an obstructionist. And I know as myself as an employer, when I tell my employee, you are going to answer the phone, you're going to do it in this manner, you're going to do it in a polite manner, and you're going to help and assist in which ways you can. And if you don't do it that way, then I fire you, because I'm the boss and you 3 are the boss. And I don't think it's too much to ask. And I know each one of you would expect it. if you went up there and were trying to get assistance, your answer is that right off the road, you can't do it unless you explain it to me. That's not the way it needs to be done, and it should be, I'm gonna assist you here, and I'm gonna help get this done so that you can at least get an answer to it, so you don't spend a bunch of money, or you just don't back out of a deal that could have brought somebody or something to our county that brings value. That's all I think that's important, is a clear directive from the commissioners to that office, is your job's to assist. And if a person doesn't follow the rules, then they don't get their thing. But if they follow the rules, there's a procedure to it that just don't get hung up like he's getting hung up on his deals. And to me, that's all more important, is that it's been too autonomous there. And I say that there hasn't been oversight because it's an area of specialty. And so you have to rely on that. But when a person gets that autonomy and power, then they essentially can run on their own. And it's time to reel that back in to make sure that he knows that he answers to the three of you. And I don't think it's asking that much to say to him, you know what, this office is gonna do it X, Y, and Z way, and we're gonna watch it, and if we hear more about it, then we start documenting it, and that's how, a person gets, either does a good job, or they lose their job because they're not doing it the way they need to.
Totally.
Yeah, and I think the commissioners, especially with this being brought to light, I think they are aware that they are his supervisor. They are the department head supervisor, and I think they also understand that as county employees, we are employees to the public. There is we're not a private business here. There is a level of
Public
accountability, and yes, and so I think they do understand that, but that's another issue that I will have to bring up with Tim. I'm not sure if I did talk about that. We did talk about
Rural
that.
addressing is simple. I
Yeah.
mean, he should just give an address
Or
when
you
you
should just
request one.
order them to do it.
Well, another
That has
side,
to be done, and I mean, since January, it's been over a month since our last meeting, I've got absolutely no results. And it's just incredible. I did a loam on a piece of property that was 97 feet above the river, just out of Superior here, during this month-long period. And we accidentally got the wrong address on the property. It went into FEMA, we got the results, and then I did a change of address request and sent it in. Do I have to make up false addresses and put on my loan applications, and then when the true address comes out, I'll do a change of address request and pay $150 and wait 2 weeks to get a corrected address on the property? Because I can do that. I can look at the properties on either side of it and go, wow, this is 2010, this is 2020, I'm gonna say I'm 2016. I can get pretty close to the correct physical address.
And that's
in
not the way
Sanders
it
County
should
or
be done.
Missoula County, you call,
Yeah.
they give you a physical address
Exactly.
Well,
today.
your argument rang true with me before. I think we're just kind of waiting for Alan to talk to this DNRC guy, because
That's a Lomar, that's a different,
Yeah, that was, yeah.
I mean, I have to have an address to do a Loma, but if my client's paying for that Loma to find out if they're in or out of the floodplain, so they can make decisions whether they're gonna build on the property or go find a different piece of property, they're paying me to do that survey for them. FEMA has very explicit steps that you go through to do a Loma. And unless you're 50 or more lots or 5 or more acres, they say to do a Loma and not a Lomar because the cost is prohibitive to do a Lomar. And all that's in Marcia Boris's memorandum from 2 years ago, ordering him to accept the Lomas. And man, this is straightforward. I do Lomas in every county and they're accepted, just not Mineral County. And these properties, we just went through a 100-year flood. I mean, we're sitting up there 6 feet above the highest water that came through. We have the greens on Cedar Creek down here, a golf course that was subdivided that's 2 feet below the 100-year floodplain, a major subdivision. Nobody blinked an eye at that. I'm going, what the heck? You can't even get to those houses in the floods. They're 2 feet below the 100-year floodplain, the ground elevation. It's almost 3 feet. And a major subdivision that was just approved a couple of years ago. I'm looking at individual lots that are outside, rural, individual, and I'm gonna do a Loma on one of these individual lots. But you can develop a major subdivision that's 3 feet below the 100-year floodplain. Because it's on city sewer, but those manholes have holes in the top of them, and when it floods, sewer's gonna come out on the surface. So my little individual projects are minor compared to a major subdivision.
Yeah, I have to say, I totally agree with these guys. That's the pick and choose attitude that I talked about a month ago when we met. It can't happen.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're gonna be a progressive county, you've gotta have people that are progressive. If we're gonna be reactive and react to Tim's whims, then we're gonna go nowhere,
No.
which is where we're going now. We lost the pellet mill, I understand. We're losing a hospital administrator. We've lost the bank. We're losing business right and left. People don't wanna come here because of what Ronnie's explaining. You can't be progressive if you guys don't take action and make this guy be responsible and follow the rules the way they're supposed to be and not just pick and choose. I've had people come to me since they know my involvement and they read the agenda and local businesses, and they fear coming here because they have to deal with Tim on a daily basis. And that's ridiculous that you as commissioners would allow that to happen in our county. So,
I've got a point to make. We owned a piece of property out off the Lozo exit. We had an elderly gentleman living there, and we needed to get an address. I came in, I did get the address about 3 years ago, and then we decided to sell it, and we sold it, and we found out the address had been changed, but nobody notified us that it had been changed. The elderly gentleman that lived down there had an issue. He was hemorrhaging blood, and if we would have had to call the ambulance to come to 1042 Sierra Iron Mountain Road, they couldn't have found it. We have had, I don't know how many people come to our house looking for that address. They can't find it. It doesn't exist because it got changed. But the county never notified us that it was changed, so we could notify Dean that was living down there. And I think that's a liability issue for the county. If somebody dies because the ambulance can't find them and they spend an hour running around because the addresses don't jive, that's a huge liability, I feel, for our county because the addresses aren't correct. And they specify, everywhere you go, we've owned property all over the place, the address is a big deal, especially for emergency services. And if they can't find people, because they gave us a new one, but they never bothered to tell us.
And that wasn't because sometimes they change addresses because of a new emergency services system. Do we know why that address was changed?
We never knew it until we sold, and then we had a insurance guy that was insuring the new owner that bought it from us, and he came to our house and he'd been all over looking for this address and the lady's name. He gave it to me and I said, "Oh, that's 1042. No, that's not the address. Then this is the address." But wouldn't Tim be apprised of that, any address changes? But wouldn't it have to go through here?
It's through his office.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we should have
Yeah,
been
even if it's an
notified.
emergency.
Well, ours got changed and it somehow it went through when they were redoing some mapping thing in the planning office. I mean, it wasn't Tim, but when they come in and
Right.
do some kind of their mapping update or whatever, somehow it got sent to the post office. I mean, because we had owned property down on the golf course that was 39 Osprey Loop. Ours is 1220 Cedar Creek Road. It got sent to the post office that our address had changed to 39 Osprey Loop. We didn't know until we started getting mail, 39 Osprey Loop. And so I did some inquiries, and it was the Postal Service address place in North Dakota that had changed it. I mean, it changed in the banking system. It changed in our all Kelly's federal ID address stuff. I mean, it took us 2 years to get it changed.
so how does that happen?
Yeah.
We don't get notified.
Well, we didn't get notified, and that's what I asked the U.S. Postal Service. I says, how can you change somebody's address? Shouldn't I have gotten a card saying, hey,
Yeah.
your address
That's
is
where we're at.
changed to this, is this correct? And it would have been fixed right then, but no, they just automatically just started. I mean, we still get stuff at 39 Osprey Loop, and it's,
Yeah, why isn't Tim here? We can ask him those questions.
I mean, I went up there and they said that it had to do when they did some update in their mapping thing, but I mean, he didn't do it, it was
Yeah.
whoever comes in and updates their mapping
It
stuff
was
somehow.
nationwide, and it was about 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Well, this just
It
happened.
was,
Don't they
it
notify
was,
the county?
There was public hearings on that and stuff, and And it's in their database. Now, they have a database it's nationwide. It's on Google Earth now. Those addresses that she's talking about are on Google Earth.
Yeah.
You get into it. And it was for all of emergency services.
Yeah, this was in the
But
last 2
to
to 3
get that
years
address,
for
that
us.
current
so I
address,
don't
you have
know.
to go through Tim's office and ask him, and then he can give you your
Right.
address out of his office.
Mm-hmm.
And whether you get notified when it was changed 5 years ago or not, but now he has the current addresses, and he's the only one that has those available to him. So that's the only place you can get your correct address from.
I think that there should be some way that people know. If he's got the new addresses and he gets a notice that it's changed, what is a little postcard to the homeowner to say, hey, this is your new address? That couldn't be too tough,
Yeah.
I would think.
Ellen, with regards to Ronnie's situation for these two lots, it sounds like this personnel issue may take months, or may never come to a head, I don't know. But I don't see a reason that the county commissioners can't instruct him to give them 2 addresses so that these folks can to do their thing that they need to.
And we've talked about that before. What does Tim say is the reason why?
He won't even respond to my request.
So why don't
I
just get a
sent emails,
directive?
I called his office, I talked to Candace, she left messages for him, he won't even respond to us.
But if
He won't
Because I-
respond to
If,
the owner.
if the 3 commissioners direct him to provide these within a week, it eliminates 2 major problems for 2 families that are trying to get something done. If he doesn't do that, then it goes to the next, when you're talking to Mako, you say he wouldn't comply with the commissioner's orders, and that's the way to document it. To me, that
I thought
seems
we had
simple.
heard something on why he couldn't give, or why he didn't give addresses, but no?
No, I thought you
He said
said it
until-
was related to that DNRC fella, the floodplain, flood insurance.
He told both my clients that until they hired him to do a site evaluation on their property, he wouldn't give them a physical address. So they both paid for site evaluations on their properties, and they still haven't got a physical address. He hasn't completed the site evaluations. He's cashed their checks, you know, that much. He
Yeah,
held
that's
one
getting
check for
serious.
about
Or it's
5
to
or
be
6
completed in a
months.
week. I think it's, that part, other than employee thing, and I understand that with the government system that's in place, it takes time to, first thing is you build a file. That's one way, is you say, this needs to be done within a week, and if it's not, then put it in the file.
So some of these people were asked to do a site evaluation and then they would receive the address? And
Yeah, which has nothing to do with the address.
and then you said that they did complete the site evaluation, but
They
still?
paid him, you can't hire a consultant like me to do a site evaluation in Mineral County. You can in Missoula
You can in
County or
every other
San
county.
Luis
Every other
County.
place.
But in
Except
Mineral
here.
County, you have to hire Tim Reed to do your site evaluation.
That's more of that control issue, and then we talk about time.
Yeah,
not
he's-
having enough time.
He's covered up with work, and yet he's doing these site
And then he tells you
evaluations,
he's
which
too
he
busy.
doesn't really have time to do. That could be done by professional consultants.
So as a
Well-
body, what's your response to that? Can you guys go say, get her done?
Well, we were kind of letting Ellen do some research that she wanted to do, and
But I mean,
and
as
then
a
she's also
government-
been busy, and so she was kind of glad you put this off a week, but this one obviously hasn't been thoroughly researched yet, so we
Yeah, but
probably.
Ronnie's been trying since January, and it's 5 weeks since we had our last meeting now. How long does it have to go before he gets a
It's
response?
just an address. I
Right.
mean, you guys should order it.
Yeah, and I-
You're not
yeah.
asking a variance or anything. You're just-
Rural addresses. He doesn't have to give a septic permit for that property until they do a site evaluation, and then he issues the septic permit. That has nothing to do with the rural address. This all started because Gary Bullock hired me to do a loan on property on Mill Creek Road out of St. Regis. The bank was 30 feet high. It was 20 feet out of the 100-year floodplain. Tim denied them a septic permit because he said they were in the floodplain. So I did a loan on that property. It came back, they were out. Then he couldn't deny the septic permit because I had a loan saying they were out. He sat right in the public hearing and said, yeah, I agree it's out of the floodplain, but the FEMA maps say it's in, so they can't do a flood permit. He's a floodplain administrator. He can actually tell FEMA that their map is wrong and they'll change it. So
Ron,
I
what's
guess
the-
he's afraid that if he allows us to do these LOMAs, he'll be locked into getting a flood permit if FEMA says it's out of the floodplain. FEMA's the one that said what the floodplain is. They should be able to say whether a property is in or out of the floodplain, since they created the floodplain.
Right, and then if
And
they're
when you give them
wrong,
more information and they go, oh yeah, our shaded A zone, the approximate zone A, is wrong in this area, and this portion of this property's out, that's what a Loma does.
and then if FEMA is wrong, what's the, from me, from my understanding, it sounded like there was concern that there would be jeopardy to the county's flood insurance through FEMA. But if
FEMA
they've
makes a
approved,
mistake,
well, if, even if the Loma's approved, because to me, if the Loma's approved from FEMA, they're basically, and if it's their mistake, it's their mistake, how can they then withdraw our,
Every floodplain map out there
Insurance.
says that it can change with any additional information, it can change. So every result you get from them can change in time.
And you can petition to get out of a floodplain. I did for my mom's property down here by the hospital. It was no big deal.
I had to do it on mine, I'm like 90 feet above the
Mine
thing.
was 60, 70 feet above the,
Some of them are closer than others, but some are, but if, you gotta remember, FEMA created the floodplain in the 1960s with aerial photography that was, it's antique. We've got way better technique and surveying equipment out here today.
Yeah.
From when they created the floodplain in the late 1960s or early 1970s. That's when the FEMA maps were first created. So FEMA tells me if you go out and tie one of our benchmarks, which is NAVD 88, and shoot elevations on this property and provide us with a 1-foot contour map, we'll make a determination where the floodplain's at on that particular piece of property. And if it's a single piece of property, less than 50 lots or less than 5 acres, they do it with the Loma. If you're doing a 50-lot subdivision, they want you to do a Lomar. They want you to do brand new cross-sections on the river. That's about a $35,000 base package cost for a Lomar. That's what we did at Flat Creek, at Town Superior and Mineral County at Flat Creek. That was $37,000 to do that little stretch of that little creek right there. And they didn't change the Lomas that had been done in that area. The floodplain's still the same.
Ron, Lance mentioned you got like two people or property owners kind of on hold right now. Are you able to reference, I don't know, by name or lot so that,
Green's in the DeBorgia town site. And Nelson is just on a slow wait on his figure. Jim Nelson
okay.
on Lori Creek.
Is there a way you can set a time frame to get some answers on this? So we don't have to wait another, since January, or another month?
yeah, the addresses, I can meet with Tim today. If he's available, I'll meet with him today.
I think that'd be
Maybe
great.
go up with Ron and meet with him after the meeting.
Yeah.
That part of, just see if we can get it done, so it eliminates the problem.
Yeah, I thought there was a tie-in with the address on with the Lomar and throw in the added,
Now, he's
septic.
mixing them up. I can't submit a Loma without an address.
right.
Because they don't put a name, they don't put a property owner's name on a Loma. That Loma goes with the property. So the only thing when you get a Loma issued back to you is it's got a rural address on it, because it always goes with that piece of property. When it's sold and turned over forever, once a Loma's been done, it stays with the property.
Now, is there and it might be me confusing it and not Tim, is there a connection between an address and the septic? Why do I feel like we talked about something with that?
Well, I mean, if I have a Loma that says the property's out of the floodplain, then it's hard for him to deny a septic permit.
Right.
If he can keep me from doing a Loma, I can't say it's out of the floodplain, because I can't get.
The Loma comes before the septic.
Yeah, but can you get a septic, can you get an address before you get a septic in there? Is there anything that precludes you from doing that? You can get an address without having a septic put in,
Why
right?
can't, that's what I'm saying, why can't you?
Yeah, that's.
If you have an
yeah.
existing
Yeah,
tract of land.
because for some reason I thought there was a tie-in between an address and a septic, no?
No.
we had to get
We've
an
done
address
that.
to get power, but we
Yeah, that's
didn't have to
usually it.
have, that was the very first thing we did, was get power. And then at when we just built our shop, then we
You
had
can't
Tim
get
come out
power
and do our.
without an address.
Right.
Yeah, you
Right.
can't get it with, and then we had to have Tim come do the septic, but it wasn't tied to the address that I remember.
Lori Green has blocks 4 and 5 at the Georgia town site, which are split by a street. There's 10 lots in each block. There's 20 lots there. She can come up with her motorhome from where she lives and camp on that property. It's a fully contained motorhome, but if she's camping there and something happens and they have to call for an ambulance, they can't tell where they live.
Right.
And the ambulance doesn't know where lot
No, they can't find it that way.
5 of block 4 of the DeBorgia town site is. They'll get close, they know where the DeBorgia is. It's, the DeBorgia town site straddles the
Yeah.
interstate.
It's a liability issue. for the county.
So, I mean, it's controlling, it's when you have a floodplain administrator, a county sanitarian, the planning guy, the address guy, all wearing the same hat, and if he wants you to not be able to do something over here, he can use this hat over here to control you on this side, on the sanitation side. But really, addressing has nothing to do with sanitation. And that should just be automatic, that if you call in and ask for it, he brings up the property, clicks on it, and tells you what the address is.
Okay, yeah, I'll talk to him today.
Yeah.
I
We
have
should probably get your number on so that we can call you today with an idea of whether these addresses can be released, and you can start working, getting it done. So,
I think I probably have it.
We've been emailing
Okay,
back
okay.
and forth, calling and hiding out.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make one point. I feel that Mineral County, like Kenny just mentioned, we're losing more businesses. We're never gonna be a manufacturing county. We're probably never gonna be a county that produces a lot of income with families moving in. Our schools are getting smaller. You know, it's evident. The only thing we got right now going for us is people moving into this county, wanting to get out of California, retirees looking for a quiet place to live. And if we are stymied through our planning department of allowing this county to grow for, say, retirees, then we're not trying to promote economic growth here. The retirees gotta bag groceries, they gotta go to the bank, they gotta buy gas. It's not a big deal, but we need every little bit of income we can get in here. We need, if they build a new house, how many new houses are going on in this county? That's tax base. And if we are stymied every time we turn around, like Mr. Warren is, that isn't helping our county. You guys go to all sorts of meetings trying to promote things and help our county, and the biggest thing I see are people moving in here, retirees. And they gotta have a block of land, it's gotta move through the system quick, so they can get their house up and we start collecting taxes on it. But as it is right now, it's a turtle pace, and it's not helping us.
We've actually heard from developers that they don't want to do business in Mineral County because of that. And that's sad. That's why we'll never see growth, we'll never see a tax base increase if we don't be progressive.
Right now, I don't know if you guys watch the real estate market real close. I watch it 3 times a week. Realtor.com, Alberton, St. Regis, and Superior. First time in my life I've ever seen a bidding war on a $99,000 house in Superior. So that tells me people are wanting to come here, but most of them are retirees. The lots are getting less. They're buying up lots down below here. They're buying lots in St. Regis. They're building new homes. What happens when they hit, all the lots are used up and we haven't gotten to develop more? And if people don't want to come in here and buy and develop, go for it. That's all.
Anything else, Ron?
No, I've said my piece, I think. I just want some addresses. I think it's a simple thing. And he just has to be told to give them out. Can't use that to control the septic systems. It has nothing to do with it. He still issues septic permits. You can't go put a septic system in just because you have a rural address. You still have to go through the permit process in his office. So having to pay him to do a site evaluation to get a rural address is wrong. And then waiting 6 months after you have paid him to do a site evaluation and still not have a physical address. That's even worse.
well, let Ellen do
I'll get
another
one today.
follow-up, and then hopefully,
Can we get a time frame?
I think she's gonna try to get back to Ron today.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to meet with Tim today, yeah. At least get, see what the holdup is and then report
Yeah.
back to the commission.
Okay.
Thank you, Ellen.
No
Alright.
problem.
Now we transition right into the update, huh?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you where I'm at. I had a contractor go look at the building down there, and I'm getting a lot of opposition about changing the structure of that building. People like it the way it is. They don't want to change the integrity. And I get it. It's a nice old building, and they don't want to do it. The other problem I have is the roof has two different roof lines, and it becomes a pretty major project to redo that whole side, which can be done. But I think at our last meeting, we were talking about the possibility of doing something with the helpline and the weed board county commissioner, or, the county extension office. And we talked about the availability of the hospital, and you guys were gonna let me know whether you owned it or not, and whether there was room up there. So I'm guess I'm waiting to hear if you guys think there's any other options there that might be better than changing the integrity of that building.
Yeah, I know that the hospital already has plans for that building as far as what they want to do is move like the CEO office and their their administration part of the hospital over there so that they could expand the emergency room and, some of the other ones into the hospital part itself. So they have designs on, that they call it the Camarac building, I think, or anyway.
On the roof.
The assisted living part of it, that they're,
How many rooms are in that building?
yeah, something like that.
I think there were
And they're gonna have a 9-room administration building?
Well, they're gonna, right now, they're using one for, I think the chiropractor comes out there, and they're trying to bring in more specialty. They want to expand, maybe, not really OB, but pediatric type, position, or not a
The
position.
traveling nurse. staying one
Yeah, and
room.
then right now, like the traveling nurses stay there. A lot of their, people that specialty people they bring in stay there, and anyway.
Mr. Curtin.
Who owns the building? That's what Ken started out asking. Who owns that building, the Tamarack?
The hospital district.
Yeah, the hospital
The
district,
hospital owns it there.
yeah.
Okay.
No, the county owns it.
Well,
The hospital district is a function of the county, is that not right? It's like
It's
a
somehow-
cemetery district or anything else that's similar to that?
no, I think, didn't it somehow along the line get passed off?
I
So
think
that-
the only
Talked
way
about
that
that last
we get
time.
it back is if the hospital goes away, or
That's possible.
defunct, is
Well, there's
then
no-
it goes back to the responsibility of the county.
At our last meeting, we found out that nobody's paying taxes on it, so it must be a county entity. So, anyway,
Yeah.
Yeah.
if there's
When I
no
first
room
came
up
on,
there,
I was
there's no
confused,
room up
too.
there. We're just thinking about options.
Right,
It's
yeah.
kind of it's an oddity to me that we don't know who owns the building. We're not getting any taxes on it. If we get it back, somebody else should be paying taxes on it. But I'm pretty sure, that was always a county building from day one. So unless we've given that away, it's still a county building. And you guys rule what happens within that building, not the hospital.
Yeah, because
The county
we had to put our
commissioner.
foot down with the health department not having enough space. And somebody found some document where where a previous commissioner signed it over, but asked for at least the space for the health department, that county health department, and I can't remember if that was with Judy and Jimmy, or when that was, because I was confused too, because there was that corporation running it for a while, that,
Brim?
Yeah.
yeah,
Right.
Brim.
Well, it's kind of a big area. I don't think anybody really knows it.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, getting back to the museum, the other option is, a complete standalone building. And, I came in with $35,000 to add on, and we don't have enough money to go elsewhere. So, and I don't even know where you put it in Mineral County unless you put it out in the parking lot there. And then we'd have to look into donations and things of that nature. But it's really sad that the history of our county is in these Mineral County museums. Alberton's in the same boat. They have a little tiny museum with lots of history and no place to put it, so it would be nice to see some things progress. But as far as redoing that building, it doesn't, I think we're gonna run into some opposition.
I thought maybe Wells Fargo would donate their building.
It would be nice if they
We're gonna
did.
go ask.
Yeah.
I mean, they can only tell you no.
They're paying all those horrendous fines, they probably want money for it.
Yeah, probably $1 million.
Yeah. This is probably a long shot, but since the school is adding on, and the junior high potentially could be available for, or at least the site, I know the building's old, but
Oh, that's a great idea.
I was really hoping maybe we might be able to get a CDBG grant to help us with a tear down the 4-H Quonset, let that room be expansion for vendors, and if we were able to get from the school, the junior high site, and sometimes those grants include a little bit of money for demolition, and if we could get a new building there, call it a community center, but also, there's these performing arts people that come, that currently they're at the Mormon church for lack of a spot. We could have, the 4-H could be there, the shooting sports, the, wedding venues, and also the senior citizen center in Superior currently rents from the Baptist church, and they need some upgrades. So if we had maybe a kitchen, it could be the senior center site, it could be the 4-H site, it could be the fair, and maybe if there could be a wing where potentially the weed or the fair office could be over there, and then that would free that up. But just kind of my
Is that what they're
Fine.
adding on for?
Well, I think that the demolition of it was included in the building of the junior high as far as I
Oh, so
remember.
maybe they're
I
tearing
think
it
that
down as
there's-
part of their own.
As part of
Oh, okay.
Bid?
the levy to build the junior high. I think
Oh.
that was, if I remember right,
Yeah.
The
tearing
building's
that
coming
down.
down, is that what I heard?
What's that?
The building is coming down, is that what I heard?
From what I understand, I'll ask Scott, but I think that was part of the levy, and the building of the junior high was to then tear that down.
I like Roland's idea.
But, yeah, but if we,
I think we have stand a chance when we have that much, Regis has got their big community center. We actually don't have one. There's hardly any place for
The
people to.
4-H building's been hit.
Yeah.
And it's
That's
got
it.
1952 Quonset hut that's,
Yeah.
the insulation is falling in, the building, the bathrooms and the water pipes are a mess, but with the senior citizens need, with the community center need, with the fair, I don't know, I think maybe we might have
Museum.
enough boxes checked off if we could get approved, but.
Yeah, Nick, do you have somebody that can write a grant? I don't know.
Yeah, it'd be Emily over there.
Oh, Ornelius?
No,
Extension
Oh,
Park.
Parks. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that'd be great.
So, and I already asked her to keep an eye out for the next cycle, and, they have little rules that if you get one, you can't apply for one like in so many years, and of course, the senior citizen center in St. Regis was our last one, but that was several years ago. We might be up where we could possibly submit for that. And then if they vacated, that could allow the museum to use the current.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
So how do you find out if we can stop it from being torn down?
Oh, the junior high?
Yeah.
I think it's just in so much disarray that it would
It's
take a
bad.
lot to.
Oh, so you,
And I think it would probably be preferred, Ken, because I think there's a whole bunch of asbestos.
Yeah.
And then, but we could have, I think there might be a pre-existing architectural drawing from before that maybe the Milliner boy did, and it was like a 2-story possible fair building or community center, so the downstairs and an upstairs maybe. And, so offices could be upstairs and downstairs could be, or however you want
Open room. Oh,
it.
that's-
Tweak
Yeah.
tweak the
Just-
drawing and
just
make
have
it.
a whole new,
Yeah, the roof is shot, well, when I worked there 20-some years ago, the roof was shot, we had an oil leak from the furnace that
well,
just
that
saturated
is
the
settling, I
ground.
think that,
It
I
was
mean,
bad.
there's water coming in the
Yeah.
bottom part of it, and.
Rich
I
Barrett's
mean,
always
it's-
flooded,
Yes.
special ed.
Well, it's for something like that.
Yeah.
But, you know,
Something
and,
like
Yeah.
and that way
Great.
then we could tear the Quonset hut down and make more room in that area for,
Good idea.
Okay.
so, anyway, that's
Emily-
kind of
Well,
what
we'll
we're.
keep moving forward with
Yeah.
what we can.
So,
At this juncture, the money's still available in the home,
Yeah.
and I can hold it.
Oh,
back.
right.
right,
So,
okay.
if you find something that
If we
you,
can get put into
Yeah.
that this fall or something and find out, maybe that'd be enough time for you. And your money might be help towards maybe remodel or walls or
or matching
moving whatever.
clothes or something.
Yeah. So, but I agree, the museum, I get that little flyer there and it's, interesting. to
Have you
me.
toured that basement?
I have not,
You really should.
yeah.
It's amazing, the history that's down in the basement of the
Mhm.
thing. And it's stuffed completely to the ceiling with memorabilia and just
Mhm.
history of Mineral County. And the other thing is, they have every newspaper physically
Yeah.
back to like 1910 or something
Uh-huh.
like that.
Big
If there's
volume.
ever a fire in that building, and nothing's on, digital, it's all,
Actually, they've started doing that.
Yeah.
I joined the historicals,
Yeah.
because I find it so interesting,
but
and
they're
they're,
not very far along.
yeah,
They're
they're
doing it
slowly.
kind of a
do-
really
they're
slow,
going
Yes,
like
Anna
20
but they are
20
trying
They are.
to, yes, yeah, they're
Those
trying to, I think we're in the
1920
40s or
to-
50s
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. Those
It's really
girls
fun
really
to
work
go
hard.
in.
It's amazing, and just when they
Look.
just took me around, it's
I
really
was
interesting.
totally
I love
They
that
really
stuff.
amazed by it a couple
donate a
times,
lot of
and
their
it's
time.
just-
Yeah.
But it's so sad about, you can't see the stuff that's piled up.
Right, yeah.
Right.
It's just stuff and, you really should go look in that basement and see what
Yeah.
you got, because it's crazy. And then, I've not been in the Alberton Museum, but it's really small and
Yeah.
open, but it's same thing, but
Yeah.
maybe a county museum.
Yeah.
All right, well,
All
thank
right.
you for your time.
Thanks, all right.
All right,
We'll,
I'll get
have a-
cracking.
All right, thanks,
Yeah, I
Alan.
hope I can catch him. Okay.
Let me know.
I got
Oh,
one comment. If I
Mr.
may-
Joel.
If I may segue off a little bit with Ken, I wanted to touch base with you on the car show this
Sure.
weekend on the lawn.
Should we go?
And Roman asked me to touch base with you on that
Yeah.
this weekend.
Yeah.
You gonna walk it?
Let me know,
Yeah.
Alan, if you need any sit-ins.
You got it.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah,
All right.
all right.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thanks for your time.
Okay.